Let's get started on the meeting because it's 12:07, and we would welcome everybody to stay on. There's a bunch of people who stay on at the end of the meeting and chit chat for a while, so that'd be great to have more of you. Let's start off with the pledge, please, Mark, if you're all ready to go.
Here we go.
Please join me and take yourself off mute so we can hear one another. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America,
to the republic
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
nation,
nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
and
liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Angie's there.
Thank you. And the four-way test of the things
We think, say, or do. First,
the
truth is it to all concerned,
will build
good
goodwill and
friendships,
will be beneficial to all.
beneficial to all concerned.
I'm pretty sure we just get better at that every week.
I think so.
Thought for the day, Bethany, that is all you.
Hi. All right. I just wanted to talk about a few facts of February. On this day in February of 1848, the US and Mexico signed the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which ended their war. The US paid $15 million in exchange for California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, and Texas. February is the only month where it's possible to go the entire month without having a full moon. It was in February of 1964 when the Beatles made their first American television appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. Over 73 million Americans watched. And finally, February has been Black History Month for the past 40 years. And I would like to close with my favorite Martin Luther King quote, which is, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter." Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. Those were great. It is the first meeting in February, and so we will celebrate some birthdays and anniversaries. We have Andy Booker today. Happy birthday. Jim Moylan tomorrow, Ralph Eppard on the 4th, Steve Weiss on the 15th, Tara Weaver on the 16th, Mignon Stetman on the 18th, Kit Pollen on the 19th, Pete Pollen on the 28th, and John Weibel on the 28th. Happy birthday, everyone.
And you missed me, I'm Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry, Karen. I did this early on, so it might have been before you were in the club.
That's okay.
On Saturday the 6th.
Jillian,
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
With President Reagan.
Jillian, I'm afraid you're mistaken. We don't have a member named Andy.
Oh,
Andy Booker.
see? Andy Wallace.
Assuming he kept his birthday, it's Andy Wallace's birthday.
Sorry, Andy.
Yeah,
Apologies.
It is. Yeah, they don't let you change that one at the Social Security office.
I was born in 1992. And then for anniversaries, we have Dan Bonner at 37 years, Mark Fitzgerald at 7, Kit Pollen at 30 years, myself at 11, Mike Nelson at 1, Steve Weiss at 1, Angie Wood at 1, Corey Christensen and Karen Schneider both at 4 years. So happy anniversary and happy birthday, everybody. Let's keep Andy up there for the rest of the meeting so that just for his birthday gift.
Sure.
Jillian, you
Yeah.
you bumped your camera and you're kind of sideways on the screen. There you are. There you are.
I thought she was going for an artistic look.
Well, you were making me a little dizzy. So.
It's actually that this is vodka.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's introduce our guests and visiting Rotarians. And Becky, we're gonna give Stacy an opportunity to give you a formal introduction in a minute, so we'll hold off on you.
I have a guest, Jennifer McNeil from Yampa River Botanic Park. And she's thinking about becoming a member, so.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming back.
I will claim Tracy Hyatt as my guest. Tracy, do you want to say hi?
Tracy.
Hi. Am I supposed to say anything?
Anything you want.
I'm glad to be here. I joined you a few weeks ago for a presentation from the community foundation where I work, and I was just super impressed and inspired with the group of people here, and also really uplifted by all the good news and things at the end. So I'm happy to be back. I've been in town about almost 18 years. Like I said, I work at the community foundation. I teach dance, I teach fitness at Old Town Hot Springs, pre and post virus, not right now. So nice to be here.
Nice to have you, Tracy. Welcome back.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I think I'm still a guest. I've applied to be a member, but I haven't had my orientation. So I will claim guest status one more time.
But it'll be over at the end of this week because we have your orientation this week. Welcome, Sarah. Announcements. Who has got some announcements for today? John, are you? Yep, John, you're
I'm
up.
here. Yeah, thank you. Rotary Ski Day. We're not sure if it's going to happen this year. You might have seen in the paper today that the commissioners with their new health order have restricted us to 1 residence per table, and we don't have 106 tables at the T-bar. So that's going to be kind of tough, but we've marked March 16th, which is the Tuesday, the 16th as a tentative. Hope we can do a date, and we'll just keep everybody posted between now and then and see how things go with the COVID. That's it for me. Thanks, Jillian.
Thanks, John. We have Carl Gills.
Yes, I'm going to do a happy hour, a Zoom happy hour on February the 22nd. So we'll be announcing that in the next couple of meetings, theme to be announced. But if you didn't make the last one, I made sure that this is on a date that Jillian will be available. So it should be a wild and crazy time.
I think Ange was the wild and crazy one.
Paula contributed also.
Paula contributed. There were
That's
lots
true.
of contributors. How about Scott Marr? You're up.
Yes, we got our year-end foundation reports for our local Rotary Club. And I'm very proud to announce and enthuse that our balance as of January 1 was $831,000 and $698 and change. And I saw Jim is here. I didn't get to talk to Jim in advance, but a special shout out and thank you to Jim, because Jim made a significant contribution the last quarter of the year, and really puts him up at the top of people that have made contributions to the to our local foundation. And Jim, thank you so much. And I did see you're here. Would you like to say anything?
Are you speaking to me? Is there another Jim? No,
Jim
seriously.
Grew. Jim Grew.
What donation are you referring to?
You made I don't want to mention the amount because I didn't talk to you in advance, but you made a significant donation to our local foundation.
Your scholarship
Oh,
scholarship donation.
No, I have nothing to say except for you're welcome, and Rotary is very impressive and it's well deserved.
There you go. Okay, thank you, Joey, and thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you to the club. What an amazing accomplishment, 831,000. So everybody has a little bit of an understanding, because it was really probably only last year that I understood this. The money that is in that is the endowment from that. Scott, would you rather say this?
Oh,
why don't you give
start, and if I feel I need to supplement it at the end, I'll be happy to do so. But you do such a great job, I think I should leave.
So this is the money that goes into all of our grants. So it's all an endowment. So the larger that gets, the more we have to give out in the grant cycle every year, which is pretty amazing for our community and for our club. So for easy math, if we got it up to $1 million, it would be about $40,000 that the endowment could give every year. So we're not too shy of that. We're in the 30s with that $800,000 goal. So congratulations.
Can I jump in, Jillian?
I love it.
I would say that it really became apparent and important this year because we could not hold any fundraisers. But because of the money from the endowment, Rotary was very fortunate that we did not have to reduce any of our granting back out to the community. So it's really important. And we had a goal once of 500,000, and I think our goal now is 1 million, and we are really close.
Thank you, Paula. And thank you for starting the endowment. Paula's responsible for the beginning of the endowment.
Jolene, it looks like Paul has something.
Just to mention that this is the Jack Black Fund, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So everyone, our newer members may not be aware that our foundation fund is called Jack Black, and that was originally set up by Paula in memory of her wonderful husband.
Thank you. Good clarification, Paul. All right, are there any other announcements before we get into our program? Tara says, pick up your shirts. I think that there was a 4-letter word in there too, but maybe not. All right. And then Stacy, thank you for setting up today's program. Would you like to introduce our guests?
You bet. I have the pleasure of introducing Becky Schmitz. Becky works at the airport, and I got to know her that way. And I asked her if she would give a presentation to the Rotary Club. She is a new resident of Steamboat Springs. She moved here with her boyfriend to ski and escape the big city of Denver. She grew up on a farm in Oregon and attended the Oregon State University, and that's the Beavers, not the Ducks. And she spent her early career as a graphic designer, but she felt herself growing more and more kind of stir crazy in that career path and was looking for something to change it up. And so on a multi-day river trip, she met a woman named Emily, who worked for the United States Antarctic Program. And Emily told Becky all about the magical world of the research stations there. And with the encouragement of Emily, Becky applied to be a fuels operator in that program, and then quit her full-time job and headed south. She's now completed 4 summer seasons and 1 partial winter in Antarctica, and she's going to give us a presentation on Antarctica. So take it away, Becky. And Mark, I'm going to attempt to share my screen with Becky's presentation, and hopefully you can pull that together for us.
You should be all set to go.
All right.
All right. Well, I wanted to share some facts about Antarctica and sprinkle in my photos. There's some of my photos and some of my friends' photos, but they're all taken by people I know that are there right now. All right. So here is a map of Antarctica, and it's really hard to explain where things are at because everything is kind of south, but the South Pole, obviously it's the most south. I spent most of my time in McMurdo Station, the red dot at the bottom. And then I spent last season in West Antarctica at a field camp. So just so you have an idea of the layout. And that little finger off to the left is a peninsula, and that points towards South America. And McMurdo Station is closest to New Zealand, just to get your bearings. All right, next slide. So this is McMurdo Station. This is the largest station in Antarctica. It's a research station. I have some little facts about McMurdo. So it's not actually on the continent of Antarctica. It's on an island, Ross Island, and it's at 77 degrees. So the South Pole is at 90 degrees south. And it's the largest station. It's built on bare volcanic rock. So in the summertime, it is all rock and there's no snow. So you can see it's kind of melting out right there. And it was established in 1955 and was primarily used by the Navy. And later it switched to non-military, and it's now mostly run by civilians. Next slide. So the treaty is the reason why people are able to go there and all get along. So in 1961, 12 parties, pretty much countries, and now there's 54 of them, have signed a treaty, and it sets aside Antarctica for as a scientific preserve, and establishes freedom of scientific investigation, and it bans military activity on the continent. And it just pretty much says Antarctica should be used for peaceful purposes only. You see in this picture, there's I think it's a film crew, but the only way you can get close to animals there is if you're a part of a science researcher team. Otherwise, part of the treaty says that you cannot do anything that changes the behavior of the animals. So you can't approach them. But I've been lucky enough to be with a group of people who are sitting on the ice, and penguins would come up to us. So if you're lucky enough and you're not, I don't know, moving a lot, they're very curious, and they'll come and check you out. They have no natural predators in Antarctica, so they're not really afraid of people. But you just can't go over and like pet a penguin. It's not allowed. All right, next slide. So there's 3 different type of animals there. As you see, there's the seals, and they're very cute, and they don't really move much. They're just kind of like little lumps. Usually they're on the ice, but this was taken by my friend at a helicopter refueling station that we call Marble Point. And I was lucky enough to spend 3 weeks out there. So like you'd be walking around and there'd just be seals. Like once in a while, they blend right in with like the rocks and the sand. And I didn't get close enough to trip over one, but once it was like probably 12 feet away, and it really surprised me that I was that close, because you're really not supposed to approach wildlife, but it didn't even move. So I don't think I bothered it. The other animals there's the really large, it's a seagull type bird, but it's not, it's called the skua, and they're probably about double the size of a seagull. And they're not very nice. They will dive bomb people. They're very angry and aggressive sometimes, but I don't know, it's kind of pretty to see wildlife there. So I don't mind them myself. Next slide. And here is another picture my friend took of a mama and a baby. Next slide. And then there's a seal scientist, and they're allowed to approach seals, and they tag them, and they do biology research on all sorts of things. I did not work with these groups, so I really don't know what they do, but they're the only people who can approach them. And on the right is emperor penguins. And we have 2 different kinds of penguins. We have the emperors and the Adelies. Next slide. And then the Adelies on the left, they're about a foot tall, and they're very, I like to call them like childish. They everywhere they go, they put their wings out and they run, and they're just like little toddlers, and they're so much fun, and they slide around. And the emperors are more like the adults. They're about 3 feet tall, and they just kind of like look majestic and stand around. Next slide. So here's a seal, and it doesn't come out very well through the background, but that mount in the background is Mount Erebus. And so it stands at 12,448 feet, and it's the southernmost active volcano on Earth. And it has a little bit of a sad history. There's a flight, Air New Zealand Flight 901, and it was a DC-10. There was an accident in 1979, which killed 237 passengers and 20 crew. So New Zealand used to offer Antarctica like sightseeing flights out of Auckland, and they would just go fly around Antarctica, would not land, and then fly back that same day. And then so things are really hard to get out of Antarctica. So most of the wreckage remains at the site. And a little like not fun fact, but kind of a fact is Sir Edmund Hillary was scheduled to be a guide on that flight because they always bring someone to talk about Antarctica. But he changed his schedules and his climbing buddy went instead and he died. And Sir Edmund Hillary was the first climber confirmed to reach the summit of Mount Everest. And he was on the Trans-Antarctic Expedition of 1952. And we probably don't know him as well here, but in New Zealand, where he's from, he's kind of a big deal. All right, enough about Mount Erebus. I took the picture, the jelly penguins floating around on an iceberg. I thought it was pretty cute. Next slide. So I spent last season, a season is October through February, but I was actually in West Antarctica from November to February. And the group of people you see standing by all the flags, the group of 12 of us were the staff for a field camp. And the camp out there was there primarily to study the Thwaites Glacier. And so the US and Antarctic Program and the British Antarctic Survey collaborated to investigate the most unstable glaciers in Antarctica. And the glaciers are roughly the same size of Florida or Britain. And 9 research teams were based out of our field camp, but they would go research it by research vessels on the sea, traverses over the land with like piston bullies and tuckers, and through the sky. The LC-130s would support us, and the Basler and Twin Otter planes would fly out of our camp. And so my role there, I was not a scientist, but I worked with them with logistics. I was a field coordinator, and we had 3 Twin Otters and a Basler based from out of our camp. And I organized the research teams and their cargo. And their temporary living spaces, which happen to be tents and orientation. Next slide. So that's me with the British and American flag in front of the galley. We use the same terms as the Navy because it used to be, McMurdo used to be run by the Navy. And WAIS means Western Antarctic Ice Shelf. And then on the right, you can see that's our fleet of planes. We got the Twin Otters and the Basler, and they all are equipped with skis because you just land on snow everywhere you go. Next slide. And that's the tents that we slept in. So those are not heated, but you have like enough like clothes, and I had a mummy sleeping bag, which I put inside a square sleeping bag, and sometimes wore my down jacket and pants. Like sometimes the temperature would get really cold. I think the warmest it got was 14 degrees was our hot day. And then the weather out there is not really known to be nice. So the tents would get pretty drifted in. You can see on the right, my tent's a little bit covered. Next slide. And that's kind of on the left is kind of the setup of what a field camp would be, just lines of cargo that would be the scientific equipment and supplies for camp, and the long rack tents, the half moon style tents would be like the heated areas where you would eat and cook and keep some of the more delicate science equipment. And the picture on the right is, you can see a little tiny plane in the picture. We're flying over a crevasse. Last year on my birthday, I got to fly around in the planes and deliver some drums of fuel to a future site of science, just so they can stage it for, it's supposed to be this year, but they're not doing anything this year because of COVID. All right, next slide. And then those 3 of my friends, and we were making donuts one of the days. There's not a lot of things to do for fun. So we kind of just make fun everywhere we go. We played a lot of games and watched a little bit of movies on a projector. Did some yoga like wherever we could find space. And on the right is our Christmas celebration. And we just lined the big table. And that's a mix of the camp staff and scientists all enjoying a meal together. Next slide. The picture on the left is funny because there are no igloos in Antarctica unless you're with a science team that cannot leave and they get really bored and they build one themselves. And I think we fit 9 people in there. It's not meant to fit 9 people. And they made like the authentic kind where you had to like kind of dig down and go up through the middle. It was pretty funny. The 2 guys on the bottom are part of the group that built it. The rest of us, the 5 on top, we're just there for fun. And then on the right, we have one of the twin otters. It's going through the middle of our camp. Usually doesn't do that. This was a rare time because we had a medevac and it turned out to be fine. But the medical tent was past the galley tent and the plane actually taxied through town to get there. All right, next slide. Okay, and then besides that season, I spent 3 years as a fuels operator. And so what that means is like we receive tankers of fuel, which are like 4 million gallons of fuel, jet fuel, at a time. And we use that for everything, like heating buildings and the power plant. Like every fuel we use is jet fuel, except for some gasoline for some of the cars. We even put jet fuel in the loaders and the heavy equipment. And other parts of the job, like each building has its own tank on it that we'd have to fill. The power plant, and one of the big jobs is transferring fuel from town to the airfield, which is like 8 miles away. And we did that through a long hose that we'd put down and pick up every year. Otherwise it'd get buried in the snow. Yeah, next slide. And on the left is my friend Gracie. We would have to carry that single point nozzle in the hose all the way out to that's an LC 130. And the L just means it has skis on it. We'd fuel these planes and they would go back to Christchurch or to different field camps. They'd fly all over the continent. The top right is the hose that we'd laid out, and it would take up to 400 gallons per minute through it. It's 6 inches. It's just a lot of fuel, a lot of pressure from 2 pumps in town. And then on the bottom right is a C-17, which is probably the most common plane, although we do get some like almost commercial type flights. Not commercially, you can't go as just anyone, but they, well, I forgot the word, but anyway, we mostly use the C-17s for bringing people to McMurdo, and you can tell how big it is by them loading that helicopter onto it. We can fit like a couple hundred people on there. They put seats along the sides. All right, next slide. This is more for fuels. There's a Delta on the left and it holds about 3,000 gallons, and we drive it out and fuel the little airport town. It's not really a town, but it does have its own galley and buildings, and that's where they organize the cargo for ingoing and outgoing from the station. And on the bottom right, you can see that town gets very volcanic dirt covered. Not what people picture about Antarctica, but that's just reality. And the photo's kind of funny because it's one fuel truck fueling another fuel truck's tank. And those are my fuelie friends. All right, next slide. So my favorite thing about working there and about my fuels experience is the people I worked with. If you can tell, the Christmas picture, like we all kind of dressed up our own way. It's just such a good quality group of people from all over the United States. And worked with a lot of these people all 3 years, and I'm still very good friends with them. And you can tell at the bottom right picture is our Christmas celebration, which is really funny. We have someone dressed up as the goat, and they do silly things. And my friend Gracie plays the bagpipes, and it's just a lot of fun to be there. That's for Christmas. All right, next slide. This is a video, so if you can hit play. So every year, we live on the bay, Winters Quarter Bay, and it was first used by the Discovery expedition in 1901 to 1904, and it was the base for Scott's first attempt to reach the South Pole. And this bay is the world's southernmost marine port. And starting in February 1956, and Operation Deep Freeze, Winter Quarters Bay has hosted an annual resupply vessel. For the first time in 64 years, a resupply vessel will not be visiting. This year, they cut everybody not everybody. The population of McMurdo is usually about 1,000, and now it's about 300, and they're not having a resupply vessel come in this year. But I just thought this photo is amazing because it's so cool when the ice breaks out. Like, you feel like you're at the beach, and you can actually smell like the salt in the air. It's really neat. Next slide. And I thought Stacy would like this one because it's the Coast Guard. The icebreaker would come in every year, and that's why the ice was able to blow out like that. It cuts a path. I don't know. Sometimes it's like 9 miles long from the open sea to our bay in order to get the other boats in. Yeah, next slide. And the resupply vessel is on the left, and it's huge, and it delivers all the stuff that we need for the next year, food, supplies, and it's delivering right there our fuel tanker. We had another Delta when I started, got delivered, and it's usually pretty good, but it's so new that it has touchscreen for a lot of the operation. And so it's pretty annoying because you have to take your gloves off to touch a screen. And they didn't really think that through for Antarctica. And so on the right is one of the research vessels that comes, and sometimes they come to get refueled and drop off some haz waste because we have to take it back another way. We put it back on the resupply vessel, which goes to California. So we import all our Antarctica trash to California, which is kind of funny to think about. And in the background of the research vessel, those buildings are the dorms. And so everybody lives in dorms, much like you would in college. 2 per room. Some have shared bathrooms. Some the bathrooms are down the hall. Living there just reminded me a lot of college. It's you all eat in a common area. There's lounges that you can, reserve for playing games. It has a fitness center, gym, and like a big gym where you can play volleyball and basketball. And there's a room we can do yoga. So it has a lot of things you would expect from a small town. It has a little store, but the only thing that I would buy from there is like alcohol and t-shirts. Alcohol is the only thing that you can really buy there. Everything else is included, lodging and food. All right, next slide. And then the partial winter I did not take this, but my friend Steve took it. He was at the field camp with me. He's just an amazing photographer. You see the Southern Lights and the Milky Way, and it's just really calm and magical in the winter. Next slide. And there's about 250 or so people there. And there's another base 2 kilometers away. It's Scott Base, which is the New Zealand base. So we share a lot of the same like flights, and we supply them with fuel, and they help us out in other ways that I don't remember. But they're our buddies, and they have 11 people in the winter, and we have like 250. And in the summer they have like 40, and we have about 1,000. But we're friends with them. And so on the left is a couple of our Kiwi friends, our New Zealand friends, and us in the winter time. And it's hard to see because it's like night vision, but there's some stars in the background there. And then in that winter I worked at the Berg Field Center. And so all those sleds were right outside, and they got a nice little frost on them. And I fixed field equipment and gear that the scientists would take out the following season. Next. And that's another photo from my friend Steve. Yeah, if you could push play, please. And the auroras they're not out as often as I wanted them to be, but when they were out, it was really amazing. It's just like they dance across the sky. That hut down in the bottom left is Discovery Hut, and it was built by Robert F. Scott in 1902. And it's about 30 meters from town, 300 meters from town, which is really close. It's part of the bay. It's so drafty and cold in comparison to the ship that the first year it was built, like no one wanted to stay there, and they used it as a storehouse because it was much warmer on the ship. And then 6 years later, Shackleton used that hut for his expedition, and it was last used in 1917, and it was untouched until 1956. And some US expeditioners dug it out of the snow and ice, and everything in it kind of remained as it was. So even now they'll give tours, but you're not allowed to touch anything, and it has a lot of old history, old biscuit tins, old like seal carcasses that they used the oil for their lamps. And since it doesn't get too warm there, they're still like frozen, but once in a while the seal carcasses drip a little fat and it gets pretty smelly. Yeah, next. And then our New Year's celebration is a huge music festival, and my friends on the left, I never participated because I'm a horrible dancer, but they had a dance troupe. The 4 of them led it, and then there's like 20 others that join for dances. And then on the right is from up the stage, looking over the sea of people. It's like the best celebration of the year. And you can see kind of in the middle back, they call it Sawbucks because they serve free coffee and Baileys, and the carpenters put it on, hence the saw. Yeah, a lot of people dress up, wear onesies, wigs, listen to live music. There's a lot of people who play in bands there, and yeah, it's just a really fun time. That's for New Year's. Next slide. And I think the reason why I love going there the most is the people. And we can cross country ski, again, avoiding the seals, and go for hikes on the volcanic rock, and walk around with a group of friends. Next slide. And this is my partial team of Feely friends, and we're celebrating a successful tanker of fuel delivery. Everyone's just really happy and jumpy. But yeah, that's just the feeling of like a good team effort right there. Next slide. And that's my last photo. And I really like it, so I just threw it in at the last minute because I'm like, I have to include this one. So this is a Pegasus flight. So in October of 1970, C-121 Lockheed Constellation, the Pegasus, had mechanical problems, and it didn't have enough fuel to fly back to New Zealand. So it crash landed and skid. All 80 people were fine, and they named the airfield after it. And that airfield is actually no longer used because it's melting too fast. The airfields are built on sea ice. And they moved it 8 miles more inland. So the new airfield's called Phoenix Airfield. But I thought that picture's really cool because you can't really remove it. We can take a boondoggle out with a group of people and play around in the wreckage, I guess. Yeah, so that was my experience and a little history of Antarctica. And I think Stacy said that I can take questions.
I'm trying to get there so I can see who's got their hand up, but if you have a question, go for it.
This is Jim. I'm just curious. My brother spent 10, 15 summers, Antarctic summers there 40 so years ago. He was a geologist, and at the time, the Antarctic was divided into like a pizza into different pieces that are run essentially by different countries. And he was at the Russian base, the Japanese base, the Australian base, the US base. Is that still the case?
So I'm probably not the right person to ask. I know there's 70 different research bases and run by 29 different countries. They're kind of scattered with that throughout. Like the United States has 3 different stations there, the South Pole and McMurdo, where I was at, and then also on the tip of the peninsula. So I don't think it's really divided up as a pizza pie anymore, but I know like time zones are, so it makes it really hard and confusing scheduling things. Yeah, I'm sorry I don't know more about that.
No, but thank you for your answer. He even had a mountain named after him called Gru Peak, and because he was there so often. But he was a scientist, and I have no idea where it is. I have no desire to go there at all. And your presentation was the pictures were excellent, and it was very entertaining, and thank you for that.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks.
Carl Gills.
Great presentation, thank you. What type of research was being done at the base you were at?
Okay, so I wrote this down because I thought this would be asked. Astrophysics, geospace scientists, biology, ecosystems, geology, geophysics, glaciology, ice cores, ocean and climate systems. And then there's probably more that I missed, but a lot of like different things.
Thank you.
EJ?
Yes, with what looked like such an enjoyable group. Tell me about romance on the island.
Oh my gosh.
or the continent.
That's for the cocktail hour.
It's alive and well, that's for sure. A lot of people that I know have met their significant other, and a lot of them actually ended up getting married. Last year, I met the guy I'm dating right now down there. So yeah, like if you think about the college type setting of dorms and share like all group meals, yeah, there's a lot of chances to meet people. I tell all my single girlfriends they should go because the ratio is like every 1 in 3. So 1/3 female, and none of them have taken me up on that yet, but I'm still trying to work on getting some friends down there.
And I'd also guess it's probably a very highly educated group, correct?
I think, yeah, I believe so. Like even the contract workers like I was, most of us have college degrees, and I even know of someone with a doctorate who was washing dishes 2 years ago.
Becky,
Great presentation, thank you.
I have a question about the day and night cycles. I'm thinking about northern latitudes and how in the winter it's dark all the time, and the summer it's light all the time. Is it inverted down there?
Yeah, absolutely. So October through February, it's light 24 hours a day. So most of the time I'm there, I don't see darkness, except for that partial winter I did. So it's like opposite seasons as we have here.
Becky, we have a question in the chat from Chris that says, once you commit, how much time do you have to commit? Is it a multi-year or can you do one season at a time?
One season at a time is all you have your contract for. And one season's October through February. And sometimes they're a little less and sometimes they're a little bit more. And people like can commit to a full year too if they know that they can survive a winter of darkness and boredom.
I wrote down one other question too about the food. You said it's kind of like galley eating. Who comes up with the menu? Are you responsible for that on your own, or is it kind of centralized?
Nope, there's a whole department. There's a whole group of people who do that. And they plan out like probably a couple years ahead because of the resupply vessel has to bring it. Unfortunately, most of the stuff that you eat is either frozen, freeze-dried, or canned, with occasional shipments from New Zealand of fresh fruits and vegetables we call freshies. But for the most part, it's probably not the best diet. It's not the best food, but it's actually, they do the best they can with it and they make it really good. So
I saw plenty of pictures with people enjoying beer. I imagine that takes up quite a bit of space.
Yes. Yeah. The vessel does bring in a lot of alcohol. Yes. I don't have numbers on that though.
Becky, I saw Sarah had her hand up.
Yeah, Becky, you mentioned some of the things that you enjoyed about being down there. I'm curious, what were some of the hardest parts of living and working down there?
So probably the hardest part was last season when I was at the field camp. And the weather was so awful there that we were supposed to come back probably about this time of year, early February, but we were stuck out there until the 17th. And we had like most of the luxury type tents and places shut down. So there's 27 people who remained out there who the heated space was about the size of a dorm. So we went a little stir crazy trying to get out. The weather was not cooperating at all. It almost felt like I knew they wouldn't leave us out there, but it kind of felt like we're going to winter over it in Western Antarctic. And it was a little sad, but yeah, that and this is like just a little complaint of mine is like, I wish there's more fresh fruits and vegetables because you kind of like feel a little groggy and unhealthy when you just live off of canned stuff.
Any other questions out there?
Hey.
Rich, go for it.
Talk about the temperature. I have no idea how cold it gets, how warm it gets. Are there seasons?
Definitely. Yeah. So in the summertime, when it's 24 hours of daylight, December and January are the warmest, and they can get to the 30s. And I think that's even hit 40 in the past year, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. At our field camp, the warmest it got was 14 degrees. And in the winter, I don't know the winter stats because I'm mostly there during the summer, but like at South Pole, it can get to negative 50, 60, negative 100 in the winter time. It's pretty dreary.
Thank you.
Paula, did you have a question?
You're on mute, Paula.
You're on mute.
Story of my life. I have a question about, is there a hospital there that operates, and what sort of care do you get, and what sort of injuries other than frostbite, but are the most common there?
So yeah, we have a medical center and it can handle a lot, but not really like MRIs. It can't handle biopsies. It can't handle a lot, but in the summer, we're a plane flight away from Christchurch, New Zealand. So a lot of people get flown up there for things that they can't handle. The biggest injury is slips, trips, and falls because it's icy and rocky, the uneven ground, and just stepping on, the wrong place. A lot of people do that.
Great. Well, thank you, Becky. I have a little fun fact that we used to have a group of people from here that would come here for the winters, and then they would go to Antarctica for our summer and do the same, well, not work on planes, but they were part of the custodial crew down there.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty small world in terms of how few people are down there.
Yeah. Yeah. I might know one of them.
Do you know Drew Colton?
Yeah. And James?
And James and Rachel? Fun.
Yeah.
Is that how you got here?
Yep.
Are you good friends with Drew?
No, I met him this summer. I'm good friends with James. Him and Rachel are no longer together.
Oh, they're not. So, fun fact, Drew was my last boyfriend and he moved to Antarctica when we broke up.
Oh.
The running joke was, which is colder, Antarctica or Jillian's heart?
Wow, small world, huh?
Yeah, that's so neat. Well, thank you so much for presenting and sharing all of that. What a great story.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, we are going to, Becky, we'd love for you to stay if you have time, or you can jump off. We're going to do good news, which is where you just hear a little bit about everybody's lives. So Crystal, thank you for volunteering today. You're up.
Hey, okay. Hi to everybody. Please put in $10 for me, Angie. I just want to say that we are doing well. We are still in Texas, so hopefully we'll be back in Steamboat soon. And it looks like Stacy's got her hand up.
I just wanted to thank Becky for a wonderful program. I definitely put her on the spot and asked her to do this. So I was fascinated by the fact that she had lived and worked in Antarctica, and I figured everybody else would be too. So thank you, Becky. And I will put in Ange $10. I also have some good news with my family. Many of you know that my mom lives with my sister now in Massachusetts. And about 2 weeks ago, or maybe a little less than 2 weeks ago, maybe more like 9-10 days ago, my niece brought COVID into the house. And, it was absolutely scary and devastating. My sister recognized the symptoms immediately and quarantined her to her bedroom. She did test positive, and my sister and her husband have both had symptoms of COVID, although they've had 3 tests that have been negative. So they're going to do 1 more test, but they're pretty sure they've had it, and it's just a timing thing for testing positive. But miraculously, they put all the protocols in place with both parties wearing masks, and my mother has remained healthy. And we're just about out of the woods. Probably a few more days of quarantine for my sister and her husband, but my hopes and prayers, and I'm cautiously optimistic that my mom is going to stay healthy through this because she's extremely high risk. So that's my good news. And also I want to throw a shout out there for Angela Catterson. She's been coordinating these weekly hikes for about 16 women here in Steamboat, and I've been partaking in almost every one of them and just love it. We had another one today, and thanks, Ange. It's been a lifesaver through COVID, and appreciate getting to know all these wonderful women in Steamboat. That's it.
Great, Stacy. Thank you. Steve Jensen, do you have your hand up?
I wanted to put $10 in because my wife and I had the opportunity to go cross country skiing with Sarah Loughran this weekend on Sunday, and we went up to Fox's Run up on Rabbit Ears, and it was a beautiful day, like 4 inches of new snow down, and we just had a great time, and it was really nice talking to Sarah and getting to know her. She has applied to the club or is in the process of doing so, and she seems like an excellent person, and it was really nice.
Awesome, Steve. Thank you. Alice?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Long time no talk. Hope everybody's doing well. My good news is Scott, if you want to chime in, Jackie Brown's moving back to town.
Oh, Oh, good. Yeah, so we're pretty excited. Right now they're in Bend, Oregon, and her husband got a job with Bear Claw Condominiums and being the finance director there. And so they're moving back.
Hey,
That's good.
awesome. Yeah. Mike Nelson, did you have your hand up? Mike?
Sure do. Hello, everybody. Just want to share some good news. Celebrated my mid 40 something birthday last week, COVID birthday. So not nothing too exciting, but had a nice family dinner with everybody. So I'll round it up to 50 and wish everyone health and take care of yourselves.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Thank you.
Who's got their hand up? Jim Moylan?
Yes. Birthday money. Crystal.
Yeah.
Ask me when's my birthday.
When's your birthday, Jim?
February 3rd. Ask me what year.
What year?
Every year.
Every year. Every year.
Oh, yuck, yuck.
I am going to put my birthday money in. It's a, is Angie there? It's a dyslexic 37.
What the hell does that mean?
That's good.
What does that mean?
You gotta look it up there.
73.
Rich, look it up. Look
Oh,
up dyslexic, Rich.
oh.
Okay.
The math.
Got
All
it
right.
now. Okay, Jim, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Karen, Ray, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I guess in tradition, since my birthday's on Saturday and I'll be 58, I'll give you $58. And I will miss all of you next week because it's one of my best friend's 60th birthday on Tuesday. So we are going to Alta and Deer Valley with our Icon passes to ski for the week next week. And then we get puppy when we get home. But thank you again, Angie, for all the hiking. It's really nice getting to know all your friends, but I don't know how I got to be 58. I still feel 40. So hopefully for those of you that are ahead of me, that continues.
Great. Happy birthday, Karen. Carl?
Thank you.
Gills? Carl?
Yes, throw $10 in for me, Ange. I met my brother-in-law down in the Front Range this weekend on Sunday and Monday. The weather down there was gorgeous and the golf courses were open. So between a solitary motel room and eating takeout, I remained COVID compliant. Just had a different outdoor sport than skiing for a couple of days.
Yeah, good. Dr. Meg?
Hi, Crystal. Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. That was so cool. I hardly know anything about Antarctica, so that was really entertaining. It's been my first meeting in a while. My kids, one's half in kindergarten at Soda Creek. The other one has daycare, and then I'm going to throw in $33 in for my birthday. I turned 33 middle of January, although I spent it in quarantine, so that was exciting. But we had neighbors pick up dinner for us and bring it to our house, so that was really nice. But I'm happy to hopefully start being able to attend more regularly with the kids being all set, and I'm actually able to get to work more. So thanks. Excited to be here today. Great presentation.
Hey, glad to have you back. Anybody else have their hand up that I'm not seeing? Hands?
Rabisa,
Oh, come
you have
on.
something to add.
It's for our endowment. What did you say, Mark? I'm sorry.
Rabisa usually has something to add, and he's sitting there like this, hands half up.
Come on. Oh,
You
Tiffany.
can sign
All
me
right,
up.
Tiffany.
Can you guys hear me? Sign
Yep.
me up for $10. $10 for good news. I think you guys making Rich laugh while he's unmuted is worth $10 alone. Throughout Rich, I love seeing your face pop up throughout the entire meeting. Good to see you. Did you get a vaccine, Rich?
I got my first one, and next week I'll get my second one.
All right.
Hey.
All right.
My wife
Thanks,
will have
Eric.
her first one tomorrow.
Tiffany.
Oh,
I think you're muted.
I was trying the space bar trick, but it didn't work. Good to see everybody. I can't laugh. I had oral surgery last week, so I'm glad to be back. and trying not to laugh. That's a great feeling. So Ange put me in for $10 for that. And then 10 more for my ability to take a new yoga class. I'm excited to share some new somatic healing therapies with the folks of the Yampa Valley. So if you're in need of some help, I'm learning a new thing, would love to help you. So $20 total.
Great, thanks, Tiffany.
I guess you're
Paula, did you have your hand
Sorry,
up?
I did. I'll put in $20. One, when Jack Black was in the Navy before he went to Vietnam, his naval vessel would go down to and fly weather balloons near the South Pole. So he has great pictures of it from, of course, the late 60s. And the other money is, it's February. In 6 weeks, we will have all been sort of isolating or trying to for a year, which seems like forever ago. And in some respects, seems like it's whizzed by. So hopefully we can all get together soon and stay healthy, everybody.
Thank you. You too.
Will do.
Mark, you wanted to try to raise your hand?
Thanks, Crystal. I can't, as the host, I can't raise my hand, so I need to like tell people to call on me. I'll throw in $10 just because I called out Ravisa and guilted him into adding in $10. And I appreciate that you're getting a kick out of laughing at Rich. I have muted Rich in this meeting no fewer than 3 times, and he's calling his wife over to unmute him so that we can hear him laugh. So thank you everyone for telling me to mute Rich. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best.
Thanks, Mark. TJ, you had something you wanted to share?
Yeah. Hey, Mark, if you can, if I can share a screen, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome to.
All right, awesome. So last week, I have a huge thank you. My buddy Andreas Sauerbrey warned me. My boys and I have talked about them a lot. They've all been in hockey and lacrosse for the past 12 years. So we've never been able to ski anywhere. And we had the opportunity to go to Jackson Hole last weekend. And thank God I talked to Andreas Sauerbrey, who said, you got a reservation, didn't you? And I didn't realize you had to have one. So that would have been a bit messy after a 10-hour drive. But I'm showing a screen here of boot packing up to the top of Jackson Hole. And then that's at the top with my boys. First time we've ever skied together in the past 10 years, somewhere other than Steamboat. And then most important, nobody died. We found pretty much every cliff known to man, and the boys just hucked it. So it was amazing that it all worked. We didn't, the tickets worked. We timed it on a 24-inch snowstorm, and it was just something I'll never, ever forget. So love those chances to get out with your family.
Wow. Awesome, PJ. Awesome. I think Steve Center, you had your hand up.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Funny story, Mark. Thanks for that, for sharing that. But I'll put in $20 to give you a little update on what's going on in Agua Prieta, Mexico. You know, since we weren't able to make our trip down there this year, we decided to send them some of that money that we would have spent. They bought materials to rebuild a preschool that we had seen down there the year before. It had a hole in the roof and holes in the walls, and it was in pretty bad shape. So they spent that money on building materials, and they were going to do all the work themselves. Well, as a part of Thanksgiving, and Jillian, thank you again for thinking of that one, but as a part of Thanksgiving, I discovered 1,000 pesos in an old pants pocket that's worth about $50. And I didn't see any time soon that I was going to be able to go spend that 1,000 pesos. So I put it in an envelope with a Thanksgiving card and sent it down to Agua Prieta and told those guys, buy yourself some beer for doing all this work on this preschool. And I haven't heard back from them, but I would imagine that $50 worth of beer, 1,000 pesos worth of beer probably goes a long way. So that's my update from Agua Prieta.
Great, Steve. Anybody else have their hand up? No? Come on. Oh, Heather.
Yes, Crystal, I have something.
Okay.
I'd like to put in $20, 5 for Becky's presentation. That was so cool. I especially loved the Northern Lights time lapse thing. That was just, I bet the stars were amazing. And what an experience. Really, thank you so much for sharing it with us. And $5 because it's great to see Tracy and Chuck and all these people who joined Rotary during COVID. I mean, kind of crazy. But also $5 for Jillian's heart. I think it's warmer than Antarctica. And also $5 because I personally like to hear Rich's laugh because at least somebody is giving some sort of reaction. So I think we should unmute a few of us at a time to just at least give some, you know, energy to the thing. So keep unmuting yourself, Rich.
Certainly, be happy to.
Awesome, Heather. Cam Boyd, you had your hand up, I think. Cam? Oh, Cam, where'd you go? Cam is gone. John Holloway.
Hi, everyone. I also had a great reunion with one of my thank-you-ary notes. It was really fun. I had sent that out to a couple of friends from high school, actually, just for grins, and got calls back. It was really, really fun to touch base with people I hadn't seen for probably since I was in high school. It's got to be at least 10 or 12 years ago. So that's my good news.
Super, super, super. Okay, I don't know where Cam went. I thought he had his hand up.
He did. He got frozen, I think. Now Phil has his hand up.
Okay. Oh, Philip. Hi, Philip.
Hi. So it's been snowing here, left over the weekend. That's my good news. We went down ran section 6 of the Arizona Trail, which is Steve talking about Agua Prieta. It's just north of Nogales, and we stayed at a little Airbnb down in Patagonia, if you guys have never been to southern Arizona. And then got to run in my fiance's old neighborhood in Phoenix, and it was 69 degrees. So left in a snowstorm and got to run in shorts and a t-shirt on Sunday. And then it only took us about 4 hours to get back versus the 7 it took down to get down there. But that's how the weekend went.
Yeah, great. Cam, you're back with us. You had your hand up?
All right. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Love the presentation. So thanks. Always wanted to go there. PJ looked like a great trip. And then just need to tell you my favorite Groundhog Day joke. So this being an Olympic kind of town, what the Groundhog's trainer tell him before the Olympics? Go for gold. Have a great day.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody else? No?
Oh.
Yes?
Yeah, Rich is on the phone now. Hi, Rich.
Oh.
Who's reading the phone with?
$50.
That's a fine right there. That's
a
50.
Fine right
the
there.
risk with staying unmuted is if your phone rings.
That's $50.
I was remiss. Go ahead and put me down for another 10, Angie. I want to thank Becky. Becky, that was an awesome presentation. And now I'm in Texas where it's 60 degrees and I am shivering just looking at those pictures. But the other thing is your name is Becky the Pirate. Did you explain that to everybody and I missed it? Do you want to? No?
Yeah, I mean, it's not very professional, and I forgot it was on there when I started my Zoom call. So it's my Gmail mail address, and I use it for computer stuff because no one else has it, and I should have changed it, but I didn't. So sorry, it's a long answer or something that didn't have been there.
No, I just had to ask. Sorry.
Oh, it's all right.
Okay, I think that's everybody. Okay, back to you, Jillian.
Jillian muted herself.
Yeah.
Did you mute me?
No, wasn't me.
Thank you, Crystal. You did a great job.
Thanks.
I am going to put in $20 because Mark sent me a text message that said it's all about Jillian when I told my story, so I guess I had to put in for that. But then my other $10 is that I went and I picked up thank you cards from Elevated Olive the other day. And I was shocked when they gave me 2 pages of people that went in and picked up cards and participated. And so then I counted what we had left over, and we have less than 500 cards out of 2,000 left over. So what an amazing group of people you are. That means there's 1,500 thank you cards out in this community and beyond. And I am so impressed with all of you. So thank you so much for everybody who participated. That was really amazing. And Becky, thank you for today. And thank you all for being here. And let's see what we got coming up. Next week, it's Seth Iskan talking about soil for climate, which is near and dear to John Weibel's heart. There's a board meeting coming up next Monday, February 8th. I will put the login information in that. It's actually the same login that we used for this meeting. So if you want to join, please come. It's at noon. Carl Gills is doing a happy hour on February 22nd. Rotary Ski Day, fingers crossed, on March 16th. And I think that's it. Did I miss anything? All right. Well, thank you all for being here.
Jillian, a couple of months ago, we had a speaker that had us all laugh for about 10 seconds out loud. I'm thinking that in honor of Rich and for this meeting, we all ought to unmute ourselves and let's finish this meeting off by laughing for 10 seconds out loud.
Oh, that was Tiffany. Good idea.
Hold on, Rich is muted though. We gotta wait for.
Oh gosh. Well, you can unmute everybody, can't you?
Unmute, Rich.
Okay, how about everyone else unmute, and we'll just do the inverse of what was happening the whole meeting. Everyone else laugh. Rich comes.
All right, Jillian, you gotta go to 1 out, 2 out, 3 out.
Where's Tiffany? She left. Oh, and you go.
3.
3.
Such a great idea, you guys. Love you guys.
All right.